Today we're going to be talking about why your ex is acting so indifferent towards you. And if you stick around until the end of this video, not only am I going to show you one of the biggest misconceptions you are having about indifference or apathy from your ex, but I'm also going to show you why your ex is acting indifferent towards you and what you can do about it. If you're kind of stuck in limbo and you really don't know what you should be doing about your particular breakup, look no further. I've got great news for you. The first thing you should always do, no matter what situation you find yourself in, is determine whether or not you even have a chance of getting your ex back. Now, luckily for you, on my website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, I've put together a special quiz that's designed to do just this. It's basically a quiz. You take it, it will tell you an approximate idea of what your chances are of getting your ex back, and taking it is really easy. Just simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on it. It's that simple. So, first things first, it might be a good idea to define what indifference or apathy is. Ultimately, it's a lack of sympathy or concern about you or your situation. In other words, your ex doesn't really care about you at all. Now, it is my opinion that people really understand whether or not their ex is indifferent towards them through conversation. And if you know anything about my theory of conversation, it's that you can really only get 4 types of responses in those conversations. You can get a positive response, a neutral response, a negative response, or no response. Now, the biggest misconception that I see people having is the fact that really if you get 3 of these 4 types of responses, a neutral, negative, or no response, it means your ex is indifferent towards you. But that's actually false. Now, believe it or not, but if you get a negative response from your ex, it does mean that they care on some level. They cared enough to get angry at you and snap at you, but on some level, it means they care and they're not indifferent towards the situation. Now, on the other hand, if you're getting only neutral responses every single time you reach out to your ex through text message, for example, or your ex is flat out ignoring you, it might be a sign that they're being very indifferent towards you. So this is the part of the video where it gets kind of fun. We're going to be looking at the brain of your ex to try to understand why they are acting so indifferent towards you. Why aren't they responding to your text messages? Why are they just sort of half-hearted responses if they are responding? Why the heck are they acting so indifferent towards you? Well, believe it or not, our research has found that there's 3 main reasons for why an ex will act indifferent towards you. They think they are above you. They think talking to you is boring, and they think talking to you is too much drama. Let's take a moment and dissect what each one of these looks like. So what does it look like if an ex thinks they are above you? Well, ultimately, I often talk to my clients about this concept of putting an ex on a pedestal and why it's such a bad idea to do that. Often when exes feel that they're on a pedestal, they feel like they have the high ground over you. They feel in a weird way that they're better than you. Another way of looking at this is that they quote unquote won the breakup. Therefore, they're better than you. So talking to you is kind of beneath them. Now, we actually see this happening consistently in situations where your ex actually moves on to someone else. They have a lot of the grass is greener syndrome in there, where they decide at some point that they think they can do better than you. And so they go out and find someone who they think is better than you. Now, only time will tell for them if that's true or not, but that's just giving you kind of the state of mind they're in and why they may be acting so indifferent towards you right now. So the next type of person thinks that talking to you is just extremely boring. But what does that mean? Well, one of the telltale signs that this may be happening is when you get into a text message conversation with them, they're extremely responsive at the beginning of the conversation, but quickly whittle down and just stop talking to you or leaving the conversation a little bit early. So what's going on? What's their brain psychology throughout this entire process? Why do they think talking to you is boring? Well, there's really 2 main reasons for why they may think talking to you is boring. The first one is that whatever you're reaching out to them with, or whatever topic of conversation you're having with them, may be boring to them. But what's more likely to happen is they feel that there's a consistent history of talking to you where things just kind of got dull and they just don't really want to spend their time doing that. And then we have the third type of person where they think that talking to you is just too much drama. Well, what does that look like? Well, ultimately, the best way I can describe this is by using my famous acronym NAT, G-N-A-T, or natting, rather going nuts at texting. A lot of people have different reactions after a breakup, but if your reaction was to blow your ex's phone up, beg for them back, cry, stop crying, beg for them back again, it's a good chance that your ex is going to label you as a drama queen. They don't really want anything to do with that. Now, I can actually tell you real life examples from my own life where this has literally happened. Oftentimes, before I met my wife and I would go out on dates, I would have conversation with girls over text message. And at some point, if they did something that was kind of crazy or they just sort of acted too needy or too drama-filled, it turned me off on them completely. I just wouldn't want to talk to them anymore because, well, it's too much drama, too much work. I don't want that high maintenance of a situation. Now, it's all very well and good to understand why your ex is acting this way or understanding their psychology, but it still doesn't really answer the problem that we're having. And the problem is, in order for your ex to take meaningful positive action towards you, they most likely need to feel something positive towards you as well. Now, our overall goal with this video is to take your situation and do just that. So what are some of the ways that we can take an indifferent or apathetic ex and make them pay attention and actually feel positive feelings towards you? Well, there are really two big things that I want to leave you with. The first thing is pretty obvious and something you probably already know, but that's understanding where the indifference set in throughout the relationship. A lot of you guys are focused on the breakup and what happened with the breakup, and they're acting indifferent towards me towards the breakup, but it has been my experience that the indifference and apathy actually happens during your relationship before the breakup occurred. You may have started noticing them not responding to text messages right away. You may have started getting this queasy feeling in your gut that something was wrong. That's a good sign that the indifference had started in your relationship. So when did that start happening and why did that start happening? It's something that you really need to understand first because it's going to really inform the second thing I'm about to talk to you about. Now, the second thing. If you've been watching me or listening to my podcast or reading any of the articles on ex-boyfriend recovery, you probably have heard me talk about this concept, so it won't be anything new to you, but it's something that I feel is essential for you to understand. And that's this idea of the stability and mystery spectrum. Indifference really kind of goes hand in hand with boredom. You often can get bored at something, or if you experience too much of the same thing, it becomes dull and eventually you become indifferent towards it. Now the problem is, this is what we see happening a lot with the stability and mystery scale. So if you don't know my concept of the stability and mystery sort of spectrum, it's this idea that human beings have these two conflicting needs in relationships. We have a need for stability in a relationship. We also have the need for a little bit of spontaneity and mystery in the relationship. Now the problem is, most of us come into the relationships and we are both spontaneous and also kind of stable. But slowly but surely, as the relationship wanes on, we kind of settle into what we feel comfortable with. And for most of us, that's stability. But your ex is looking at you and thinking, hey, something has changed. We're no longer doing those fun, spontaneous trips anymore. It's just sitting at home and watching Netflix. That's boring. So ultimately, I think it's a really good idea for you to take a look at your relationship and really kind of determine if this happened to you. Did you become more spontaneous throughout the relationship, or were you more stable throughout the relationship? And to add more complication into this really complicated equation, each ex has an individual preference for what he wants the stability and mystery percentages to be at. For example, I feel like I'm more of a stable person, but that doesn't mean I don't want some spontaneity in a relationship. So if you were to chart this as a percentage, maybe I want like a 65% stability person and a 35% mystery, spontaneity person. What is your ex's percentages? Now, the overall goal here really isn't to figure out the exact percentages needed for your ex to fall back in love with you. It's to really find where you are lacking. Maybe you got a little complacent and grew more stable and stopped doing the mysterious, adventurous things. Maybe you grew a little too mysterious and adventurous and forgot to do the stable, boring type things. Whatever you're lacking is where you want to reshape your ex's perception. Your ex right now has these perceptions of you. You are that dull person who would only want to Netflix and never would want to go out. You're that super exciting, sort of worrisome person that goes out and parties all the time, and maybe he's worried about you cheating on him. Whatever the situation may be, this is your opportunity to reshape your ex's perception of you, and you can do that in multiple different ways. Now, I would say probably 90% of the people that I work with fall into the more stable category. Maybe as time went on, they got a little complacent in the relationship and forgot to keep up with those mysterious and adventurous qualities. Well, whatever the case may be, I want to use stability going forward so I can show you how you need to do this. So if your ex views you as a stability type person, that means on your social media accounts, that means anytime you have conversations with your ex, whether that be through text message or in person, you are going to want to subtly highlight some of the adventurous, mysterious type of things you're doing. Now, how do you do that, you may ask? Well, by answering one single question, you can actually sort of help reshape your ex's perception of you. So here's the question. What is the one thing that your ex would never expect you to do? I'll use myself as an example. One thing that my wife would never expect me to do is to go skydiving. That's extremely adventurous and mysterious and also a little life-threatening. So if I were to actually go out, do skydiving, have pictures of it, talk about it with my friends, go with my friends, it can start to make someone's perception of you change a little bit towards the part that maybe they're going to find a little bit more attractive. That's what you need to do, except you need to have all these subtle little ways of highlighting those aspects of you. And don't just stop there, but maybe doing something else extremely adventurous is another way to do it. Don't just discount and stop at one adventurous thing if you are trying to appear more mysterious. Just keep going. Hey there, thank you so much for getting it to the end of this video. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you stop by our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, and take that Ex Recovery Chances quiz I was talking about at the beginning of the video. Again, all you got to do is just simply look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on it. It's that simple. Also, if you haven't liked, commented, subscribed, and done all the YouTubey things for the channel, please do that. It always helps.